Okay, so welcome. This is Joe, and I'm here with Louise. Louise, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks, Joe. How are you?
I'm doing okay today. This is our third video or our fourth video um on the Crowley case, and we're slowly but surely proving to individuals the fact of what real evidence looks like.
We certainly are.
So tonight we're going to be discussing several things. And the first thing we're going to be discussing is I don't know if we can describe it as Catherine's interview with Dr. Kelly or the involvement of Dr. Kelly with the Crowley case, considering Dr. Leon Kelly is a medical examiner. He's not from Minnesota, he is from El Paso County, Colorado. So, what would you call it, Louise? More of the interview or his involvement?
Um, I don't even think I could find the words. I'd say he's been dragged into something that he didn't know the full extent of.
Well, then maybe we can call it Dr. Kelly becoming a victim just like everybody else.
Works for me.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. The first thing we're going to show you is the beginning of a video from April 3rd of 2018 that Catherine calls an interview with Dr. Leon Kelly. The funny thing is, it's kind of confusing because she says she's interviewing Dr. Kelly, but it's all her talking. You don't hear Dr. Kelly anywhere. So let's get that interview up. How we doing, Louise? Can you see that there?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so we're gonna go right down here, and we're actually listening for the first 18 seconds of the video for now.
Hi, YouTube. It's Captain Michelle. Today I had a meeting with Dr. Leon Kelly from the El Paso County Coroner's Office. He's a medical examiner, and he helped me to understand the autopsy reports. We didn't discuss everything in them, but we discussed a few topics.
Okay, so that's the very beginning. You hear her identify Dr. Kelly. Um at one point she actually goes in later on to say that or it might be in the section that we're going to go into next. She actually says, Dr. Kelly's qualifications, which I got to tell you, Dr. Kelly is definitely, I mean, he's definitely qualified. He is 100% definitely qualified. So let's go into the second part of the video. This is a little longer. This is from 8 minutes until 14 minutes and 36 seconds. Here we go.
What I spoke with Dr. Kelly today about, I asked him his background, and he has been a medical examiner from 2007 until present. He got his degree at Indiana University, and he's done right around 4,000 autopsies in his life. He specializes in strangulation and sudden infant death. He does not have a forensic background, although he understands some of it. It's
Okay, I gotta stop this there for a second. Okay.
I thought
Um,
you might.
yeah. I want what I want to do, and you're still looking at the video right now, correct?
Correct.
Okay, good, good, good. So, oh my God, I sounded like somebody else, and that's not good. Anyways, so what I wanted to do is I wanted to go into something that I obtained today. Okay, and I'm looking for it right now. Here we go. It's right here. So let's make this a little bigger so I can read this easier. More like a script almost. Okay. Okay, so here we go. So the following is from Angie M. Christensen and Eric Bartlink in Forensic Anthropology, the second edition, 2019. And it explains it's the actual what is a medical examiner. And it says, both medical examiners and coroners are responsible for investigating suspicious deaths, identifying bodies, notifying the next of kin, and signing the death certificate. The qualifications they have and the medical legal systems in which they work, however, can be quite different. A medical examiner is a physician who is usually certified in forensic pathology, who is appointed into their position, which we know Dr. Kelly is an elected position, so that fits there, and performs autopsies. So we know Dr. Kelly performs autopsies as well. The strange thing is, as you heard, Catherine said her Dr. Kelly had no background in forensics, but this is a qualification to become a medical examiner. I think that's kind of strange.
So do I. But nothing surprises me.
Well, the other thing again, this is an interview with Dr. Leon Kelly. I mean, the title's right here, but where is he? There's no audio.
No,
Definitely
there's
no
no
video.
visual.
Right.
There's
I mean,
nothing. There's
right.
no signed document to say these are my answers to your questions.
Mhm.
There you go.
Well, we do know.
We know they met, but it's Catherine's interpretation that we're relying on of Dr. Kelly's answers.
Yep. And but we do know that there was, in fact, an interview with
Yes.
Dr. Kelly. So it's just, I'm in awe. That's all I can say. Just want to check this. Okay. Okay, good. Okay. So we're going to continue with Catherine's an interview.
It's not
Video.
So he was able to help me understand some things, but couldn't explain everything. Or what I appreciated about him is he said, well, this is how I understand it, but there's not enough information. In my opinion, doesn't count, which is true. Our opinions don't count. And so I asked him if he had, and then the first thing I gave him were the autopsy reports of David, Camille, and Renaya. And that's all he read at first. He read those, and then I showed him a photo. And so I asked him, I said, do you have experience with small to medium-sized dogs scavenging on human remains? Sorry about that. And he said, yes, a lot of experience in that area. And I said, would you conclude a dog ate the hands of a victim if the arms are located under the body with no signs of the body being moved by the dog to gain access to the hands? And I was reading this from the police report. And he said he would not make that determination. He said, because there's not enough information to interpret. He says, the way I was reading it, the hands are like this. He says, the hands could have been like this. They could have been like this. He said, there is not enough information to make that determination.
Okay, now I need to point something out, and I'm glad that she used the body mannerisms that she did. You will notice that Catherine's opinion was that the hands were under Camille's chest toward the center. Dr. Kelly said that he couldn't make the determination. He's not saying he could not make she is leading you to believe that he could not make the determination that it was animal scavenging, period. Okay. What really Dr. Kelly was saying, but if this is indeed what he said, is that by not knowing the position that the hands were in, that they could have been sticking out of both sides. There could have been just a small protrusion that Paleo could have pulled back on. So she doesn't, she leads you to believe what she wants you to believe. At least that's the way I'm taking it from watching this.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's continue.
said, okay, or to interpret in that way. I said, okay, makes sense. And I said, and if dogs are chewing, I go, are there usually teeth marks on the bones and skin? And he said, at the end of the skin, no. But on the bones, he said, not necessarily. It would depend on how the dog scavenged, how fresh the bones were, how long the body had been decomposing. So again, it was another one of those. It's a supposition, not necessarily something he could answer yes or no in this case. Then we talked about, I showed him the photo, and I said, if you walked in fresh to the scene, what would your first initial gut reaction be? And he said, my first thought would be, where's the dog? So he said that he truly feels like the dog did scavenge and did eat some of these body parts. He doesn't know if it was all of it. Again, there's just not enough information, and I haven't seen all of the photos. He said he would have to see the photos on exactly how those bodies were laying. But right now, with what we have, he said there's just not enough information. And then I asked him, and I also asked him, I said, well, I'm still trying to find that report. I know I read it several times where they state the dog was then dehydrated. So I asked him, I said, could a dog be dehydrated if it had been sustaining itself on human flesh? And he said, yes, it could be dehydrated. So that was helpful to me. And then I said, how far advanced is decomp if the internal organs can be weighed and measured? He says, as long as there's some kind of fluid, if they're still there, they will be taken out. If they have to be scooped or whatever, then they're measured. And it also depends on what the moisture content is of not only the room, but of the body, and how far is decomp. And then I asked him, I said, I was told lividity can't be discerned once a body is refrigerated. And I said, is that true? Because I did get that from a deputy coroner from another state. I asked them about this. And they emphatically stated that once refrigeration happens, it changes the body and how the decomposition is reacting. He said in his experience, so it's the opposite. He said, that the line of lividity will always be present. He said, as the body decomposes, blood and liquid is what leaks through, and lividity is blurred. So you might not be able to see it as well, but he says it's there. I guess, now this is me putting words into his mouth. This is what I understood him to mean. So
I don't know if you just caught that.
Which particular bit? Putting words into his mouth.
Exactly. With the interview she did with Detective Gummer, she didn't want to put words in his mouth, but she did. And right here, she says outright, she is putting words into his mouth.
Yeah.
Start to do an autopsy as they're cutting through. You might not be able to see it due to the decomposition, the marbling and the slippage. But I'm going to assume that once they start to cut, then you might be able to see the line of lividity somewhere on that. But he says it depends. But he said usually it's there, but it's going to be blurred. So you have to know what to look for. And then I said, can you determine approximate time of death with the last date known to be alive, the decomposition, and the room temperature? Because they were stating that the Crowleys died approximately 3 weeks before they were found, and so on and so forth. And he said, no. He said, no one can. A very rough estimate, but no one should determine. However, looking at the decomposition from the photos, he says his rough guess would be that they were not dead for 3 weeks, that they were only dead from a few days to a week.
No, we're going to show something. Okay. And I want to try to pull this up so we can stop. We already know that the, we already know that the, original police reports, okay, from Apple Valley, they all say that there was a heavy smell of, decaying. There was, like an overwhelming, they used the words overwhelming smell of decomposition. You remember that correctly? I'm correct about that? Louise.
Oh, I've muted
Oh,
myself again.
okay.
Did you notice that Catherine was in the middle of saying that Dr. Kelly was saying that you shouldn't try and determine a time of death, but then goes on to say that he determines a time of death.
Right. Well, this is why I want to point out the next thing here.
Which just so happened to be the same time of death that Catherine's always pushed as her theory.
Right. Well, this is what I want to point out. Okay. The police report stated that there was an overwhelming smell of decomposition. This was their sense of smell. Okay. They also, from their sense of sight, when they came into the house, the police department described what they saw as pretty progressed decomposition. The autopsies stated moderate decomposition. I have all that correct at this point.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I want to direct people. We'll go back to the rest of the video in a second. This photo in the red circle that you can see, you able to see that, Louise, as well?
Yep.
Okay. This is a female processor for the crime scene. And you'll notice that she's got, tan pants on. She doesn't have coveralls or anything like that. She's got a black winter jacket. She's got, black gloves on that are, they're like a rubber glove. Right where I'm circling, okay, actually I can circle here, and then I can circle here, and then I can circle right, or not circle, but we'll go right here. That is a full blown respirator. Okay.
Correct.
You would not need, and I'm speaking from experience. Okay. I have been on scenes. One of my first, when I was precepting, one of my first actual DOA calls was a guy in the city of, or the town of Ansonia, and he had been dead for approximately 2 weeks. And 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that myself and my preceptor Pat, I mean, I remember who was there with me. I remember the detectives coming in. I remember insurance paper, because we saw the insurance papers and we are like, what the heck? And then we actually said something to the detectives. So obviously they investigated this, whether they found anything strange or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, we walked in there and it was just like,
Yeah.
and when the detectives went in, when they first got there, all the windows got opened up, where they still smelled everything, but it was a little bit lighter. But then when they were processing that scene, okay, they, what do you call it? They actually wore SCBA. We're talking air tanks.
Yeah.
So this is not 7 to 10 days you're looking at right here. This is definitely longer. And I'm speaking from experience. I mean, I've got 20 plus years in emergency medical services. I haven't held back. People have seen my certifications. You can look me up, on the state of Connecticut and the state of New York website. You'll see it right there. both my EMT and my medic. Okay. And before I was an EMT, I was a medical response technician. So, I mean, you know, I just don't get how, not just that, but Dr. Kelly, a man who was not, you know, at this location, okay, is coming out and stating a, you know, a date in a, a time for this happening. I just,
Especially when he said in, like, or Catherine's relayed that he had said that he can't determine this from one picture and he can't determine that from one picture, but all of a sudden he can kind of determine the time of death from one picture. I don't think so, but carry on.
okay, so let's go back to the video.
That is what the decomp process looked to him, only to that stage. He was very, very clear that he does not feel that those bodies were laying there for any longer than a week, which is interesting. I found that really interesting because
I find that really interesting too.
Me too.
States that the bodies had been there for 3 weeks. And I even told him that the glass door was cracked 1/4 of an inch, that the heat was set at 68 and all of that. And he goes, well, that can matter. However, the rate of where they were, the body with the marbling, and you could still see, and even though there was some mummification of the hands and feet of the feet that were bare, he said, no, in his professional opinion, it was no more than a week.
Okay. So
And he wouldn't give his professional opinion. He'd stated earlier that he couldn't give a professional opinion. He could give an opinion, but not a professional opinion because he didn't have all of the records and he wasn't there. So,
well, he did give opinions. Okay. So let's, as a matter of fact, Dr. Kelly was contacted by myself and 2 other individuals. We're going to show right now. Let me pull this up. This is Dr. Kelly's response to Judy Prochnow. Hi, Judy. Catherine did come to me with questions concerning these autopsies. It was unclear to me her role in any of this, and I answered the questions as scientifically accurately as possible. She proposed many theories about why the conclusions reached by law enforcement and the medical examiners were incorrect. So Dr. Kelly was not stating that the information was incorrect. That was Catherine saying the information was incorrect. This is right here in writing from Dr. Leon Kelly, MD, El Paso County coroner, not medical examiner. This letter is dated June 18th of 2018. And yet the video that was in there since April of 2018. I just did that again. April of 2018. It is now 2021. And she knows that Dr. Kelly's not the one that did this. Okay, that said this information. It's right here. It was her. Anyways, I attempted my best to educate her on the facts of the case, and she presented them to me, and that I agreed with the conclusions drawn by the original medical examiners and law enforcement. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but that line right there, okay, I agreed with the conclusions drawn by the original medical examiners and law enforcement. Does that mean 7 to 10 days? Because I think it means 3 weeks.
I think it means 3 weeks. I think it means double murder suicide. I think it means animal scavenging.
I saw Nothing there based on my limited review that made me believe that these tragic deaths were anything but a murder suicide as determined by the original investigation. The meeting grew slightly contentious at times. I stated I believe the conclusions reached by the agencies were responsible and appropriate. Now, this letter goes on. So let me just get over to the next page from this letter. And we'll get over to that. Bring this right here. Okay. New share. Okay, you got the next page?
We do, yeah.
Okay. I said, okay, I stated the conclusions reached were, I stated, I believe conclusions reached by the agencies were reasonable and appropriate, even if my style or protocols differ slightly. It appears that those attempts at putting her concerns to rest did not work. I have to say, I was at least impressed by her dedication. Well, you know what? She's dedicated.
I'd say
So,
obsessed.
yeah, well, that too. To pursuing this case, even if I didn't quite understand why she was involved in any way concerned or involved. She didn't know the family. She didn't know the deceased. She has no connections. I can kind of get it. I do understand that she has a YouTube channel or some or it says or some sort, but I have not reviewed any of the videos at that time. It's unfortunate that this family and community should continue to suffer after a tragedy like this. He's literally saying that people should not be sticking their nose into this case, not because he's trying to stop people from looking into something that's strange, okay, or fascinating, or they don't understand how they could have came to this conclusion, okay. But he's saying that, hey, I'm looking at this thing, and it they did what they were supposed to do. The conclusions are correct. And people, the family, the friends, anybody connected with this case, Judy Prochnow, should not be continuing to suffer after a tragedy like this. I hope that there is some sort of closure soon, which that was 3 years ago. There's still not, although that doesn't seem the case exactly. I would also agree that this is a frightening trend of amateur sleuths harassing innocent people. What's that? Did I see innocent right there? That says innocent, in an attempt at solving some unsolved mystery. And you'll notice unsolved mystery is in quotations. The reason that it's in quotations is because he's actually not poking fun at it, but he's pointing out that it's not
It's not
unsolved.
unsolved.
Exactly. Okay. It also talks about how Colorado, okay, attempted to pass a law that what do you call it? And they were unsuccessful at that time. And they couldn't, they were unable to, to get their law passed, which is sad. So we're gonna I'm gonna stop the screen sharing for a second, because that was the first letter. So now I'm gonna go to some second letters. Okay, here we go. Downloads right here. Get back over to here. So this second individual also wrote Dr. Kelly. And hold on. Okay. This is obviously from Facebook Messenger, but off of a cell phone. You can see Dr. Leon Kelly right here, and that he typically replies in a day. Hi, Dr. Kelly. My name is, and then we redacted this. I was a fan of David Crowley's work. Can you reiterate what you had told Catherine Michelle about what you saw in the reports that she gave you? I'm being named as a suspect by her, and I'm sick of the slander. I believe this individual wasn't named as a suspect. I believe he was, named as a person of interest. But the fact of the matter is, it didn't even need to be done. Okay.
No.
And he basically said that he was sick of the slander. And as you can tell, this was during his re-election. So Dr. Kelly wrote him back at 12:54 in the afternoon. And he answered the individual by name and says, I'm posting to you the response that I gave to another person who reached out to me concerning the same issue. I am sorry that this tragedy continues to put a shadow on your life. As I said below, it's very concerning that some folks have taken it upon themselves to aggressively pursue innocent people for a non-crime. Okay. The man says non-crime. By chance, Louise, did that switch to the next page or no?
It did, yeah.
Okay, awesome. So she did come to me with questions concerning these autopsies, and it was unclear to me her role in any of this, and I answered the questions as scientifically accurately as possible. She proposed many theories about why the conclusions reached by law enforcement and the medical examiners were incorrect. I attempted my best to educate her on the facts of the case as she presented them to me, and that I agreed with the conclusions drawn by the original medical examiners and law enforcement. I saw nothing there based on my limited review that made me believe that these tragic deaths were anything but a murder suicide as determined by the original investigation. The meeting okay, here it goes. The meeting grew slightly contentious at times. I stated I believe the conclusions reached by the agencies were reasonable and appropriate, even if my style or protocols differ slightly. It appears that those attempts at putting her concerns to rest did not work. I have to say, I was impressed by her, dedication, blah, 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 blah. I mean, this is pretty much almost verbatim, okay, what was said.
To the other message.
Yeah. So, and again, I would also agree that this is a frightening trend of amateur sleuths harassing innocent people in an attempt at solving some unsolved mystery. We attempted to pass a bill preventing the release of child autopsies to the general public for this very reason, but it was vetoed by our governor last week. I wish you luck. And then the individual said, thank you. So again, this is 2 plus the letter, the email I received from Dr. Kelly, which is basically the same
thing.
So Dr. Kelly's saying, listen, I agree with
the original findings.
Yeah. And I don't know if we should bring this up or not, but Dr. Kelly, sometime between 5 months and 8 months after this video went up, actually responded on the video.
It finally had enough of people messaging him saying,
Oh, it
Can
was
you
5 months.
tell me?
Yeah, right. Exactly. He had numerous people, and Catherine was telling people that people were harassing Dr. Kelly. You just saw what was written to the man. The man was very, very nice. In his responses, he was very truthful. Okay. But according to what we're reading, okay, you see, this says 5 months ago. I'm about to kick this on. And it was erased. Dr. Leon Kelly.
You might need to zoom in a little bit if you can.
Let me see if this will actually. Oh, I don't think I can on this one. Oh, wait. Here we go. Did that just zoom? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sure did. Okay, hold on. I gotta zoom out a little bit. Okay, there we go. Dr. Leon Kelly. That is Dr. Kelly's thing right there. Okay. Ms. Michelle, I have told you directly numerous times that this is not what was explained to you.
Numerous times.
Numerous.
So has he been in touch with her before this post?
No, I believe what this is saying is during the interview that took place, she called it an interview. He told her numerous times that I agree with the investigators. I know you don't, but I'm the doctor, and he says he told her directly numerous times that this was not what was explained to her. You came to me presenting your own ideas, which is what he said in both of those letters. You guys saw it. Okay. As to what occurred, I explained to you and attempted to educate you as to why I agree with the original investigators. And what gets me, and I'm sorry to say this, but what gets me is upon confrontation, instead of taking the video down, it's
the
like,
comment goes.
Excuse me?
The comment goes, not the video.
Yeah, the comment gets erased, not the video.
Which means I'll leave up my misleading and false information and I'll delete the comment that's correcting my video.
Don't make
and carry
me
on
look bad.
misleading people. Exactly.
Don't make me look bad. Okay. I got a narrative to push. So
I've told everyone you agreed with me, Dr. Kelly.
That's just unbelievable. So I think
it's something for people to ponder, isn't it? It's something for people to ponder.
Yeah, I mean,
if it's the truth, Dr. Kelly is the one who is in authority to be able to make these claims, not Catherine.
Yep, exactly.
Let's take it with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you have numerous people receiving communications, at least 3 people that we know for sure. Judy, the other individual, and myself. And as somebody else out there says, I have no dogs. I don't have any ponies in this race. Okay. The only reason I'm even involved with what I do is because I am sick and tired of seeing a family put through the grinder. I'm sick and tired of seeing a different suspect named. Okay. We went from the government to
family members to friends.
Well, right. That's what I was going to say. I was going to say friends and then family members. Yeah. I mean, we got liquid nitrogen getting dropped on people's hands, van loads of people, at least 100 people involved. I'm surprised there wasn't a circus tent over the house.
It's just ridiculous. And it's all based off of zero evidence, just speculation and nastiness to make this into something that it's not.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, you saw what Dr. Kelly's response was Okay. You know, he outright said he wanted these people, okay, to like have their lives back. You know, he wanted them to be at peace.
Yeah,
Okay.
to be able to try and rebuild their life after such a tragedy and something that's so horrific. It's hard for anybody to get over without being under the microscope of certain vindictive individuals
Yeah, I
who are
mean,
trying to twist it for their own gain.
mhm. Well, that's we kind of, yeah, exactly. We kind of know that this is for some kind of gain. Hmm.
Hmm.
So now we wanted to move on to something else. So, Louise, do you want to go into it, or do you want me to start? I think we were going to talk about the psychic visit to the home. Did you just mute yourself
Sorry,
again?
yeah, I did, yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Do you want to talk about the psychic visit? Because
Well, yeah, there was a video put out a couple of years ago where there seemed to be a trend with let's get some psychics going into the Crowley house. So it must have been when the house was first put up for sale.
mhm.
And let's just say all is not as it seems. There's some videos, well, there were some videos. I'm sure that there will be a video
Again,
on the, yeah, but I'm sure that there will be this video somewhere in one of the, I don't know, 8 hours or 11 hours replays on Greg's channel, but I'm not trawling through that to try and
well,
find it. But it was originally uploaded onto Dan and Greg's YouTube channels, but fortunately they've been taken down. But
well,
unfortunately for us, it's a little bit harder for us to find the video so that we can show people. But if you
well,
look for it, you can find it.
well, you were privy to some information. Can you tell people that are watching this, um, what information you were privy to and how?
Well, some people may or may not know that I used to be in the justice group. And not only was I in the justice group, I was also an admin in the justice group. And so I would be talking with Dan and Greg and sometimes other people in private through emails and chat and everything like that.
So behind the
And
scenes.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Um, it's probably easier to go to the screenshots of some of the emails that I received.
Okay, here you go. Is this one of them?
It is, yes.
Okay. So this looks like it's regarding tonight's show. It doesn't, and info. Okay. And it's sent from Dan Hannon, and this was back from 2017. Okay. This was also originally between Dan and Greg. And then this was between Dan, Greg, and Louise. And what this says, and
But
this
it
is,
was also
mhm,
between me, Dan, Greg, and a lady who's a member of the justice group called Lynn. I'm
mhm.
sure a lot of people know Lynn because she's quite active on there even now.
Well, there's, yeah, there's two Lyns that I know of. So and
But
I'm
only
sure
one's
it's
in the
one of them.
group.
Right, exactly. Yeah, the other one made sure to stay clear. So so what this says is that Lynn and I are ready anytime. Yes, free conference is good, which we all know that Greg uses free conference. But this was what I found interesting. The psychic's name was Anne, and he's got Lynn is the one that's here. and we'll use Lynn's name as Anne again. And that was like kind of strange to me. But then I noticed the second one, the second email, which I'm going to share, or the second part of the email, I should say. I can read about what the non-biased medium reported about the Crowley home. And then number two, I can read the report from Lynn, or she can be on the broadcast and tell us all in her own words. So what I'm reading here says that Lynn is going to pretend to be Anne and tell the psychic story. I mean, I'm reading this correct?
You are. Do you notice the first sentence as well? I can read the non-biased psychic. So one psychic has no ball in the game, but a second psychic does have a ball in the game and will be biased.
Wow. And it was a 20-minute show. And then he writes to Lynn, would you like to be on the show using your name or be on, and notice the capitalization, on the show, but not give a name. I'm interested in hearing the response from the pages once this gets out, because it's got to get out there.
Thoughts.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, those who are listening here,
there's plenty others as well. There's plenty others. There was one that was about a certain friend of David's, and they got this person's background, and Dan had said about beefing it up.
Yeah, I mean, this is.
I think we've put that out before. I think that is out in one of our videos. Yep. But there's plenty of these messages of how can we basically get as much attention and cause a stir whilst covering our tracks and deceiving people.
Well, again, you know, we earlier, just in the last, thing that we talked about, okay, Dr. Kelly was saying the amount of sadness, the amount of everything that was going on to these victims, these innocent people. And again, what do we have? We have lies. And ladies and gentlemen, listening to this program, listening to this show right now, my God, this is actual proof in writing from the admin of the justice group and the assistant admin, or whatever Greg is now, okay, or was, or whatever, okay. Greg the Blocker is literally involved in this conversation. So this means that not one, not two, but 4 people knew this was a line of crap. And literally, you guys listen to this show that they put out, you were all lied to. And it's not the only thing you were lied to. Trust me, it's not the only thing you were lied to.
Definitely not.
So I think the next thing we want to move on to, if I remember correctly, is the gun picture.
Yes. Okay. The one that we were accused of faking, because just because that's their way of being, they think that that's obviously going to be our way of being.
Yeah, well,
but it's not.
Right, exactly. It is not. So long story short, we're going to go do this really quick. Hold up. Okay, we're looking at, okay. So I think it was about 2, maybe 3 months ago. Okay. We took a photo that we obtained from a law enforcement facility that had to do with this case. And
Yeah.
that photo is right here. This is the crop. And there's a reason the photo was cropped. Okay. It was to not further put stuff out there that could be exploited. Okay. There was a previous, I mean, everybody knows this that's listening for the most part. There was a previous Freedom of Information request, or Minnesota calls it a Data Practices Act request, that was put out, and accidentally a photo of the crime scene was released that had the bodies in it, not in body bags. It had the bodies in it of the poor family. Okay. And that included a 5-year-old child. And what happened was despicable. This picture was literally traded all over the internet. We actually know of 3 people, maybe more, okay, but at least 3 people who said they joined the other group. And literally, one lady said she was in the group for 2 hours and said she wrote somebody and she said, "Hey, can I get a copy of the picture? You know, I'd be pretty interested in seeing what the picture was, you know." And within a couple of moments, bing, did you get the picture? Did you get the picture? Like it was a baseball card. And I mean, and that same picture has been used in videos by them, upsetting family members, to where family members responded. I just, you know, it disgusts me. It really does.
Well, we wanted this picture originally because people were using for another excuse to try and discredit the authorities. And they were saying that in the public release, there wasn't a picture of the gun on the floor. There was only a picture of the gun on the table. So
Right. The gun was
that
not
must
found.
mean that the gun wasn't found on the floor and they're lying.
Right, exactly. Well, yeah, they people, we wanted and we got a picture of the gun in the position it was found. And as you can tell, contrary to, this is hysterical, what I'm about to say. Contrary to this gun, okay, this XD40, which we're going to show you some other things to do with this gun in a second. This XD40, okay, was found on the floor. And this is plainly a gun. I don't see any strands of hair on this gun. This gun is not made of hair. This is not a Glock, and it's easily proven by the what do you call it? It's easily proven by not us, but the manufacturer. So we're going to go down and we are going to go and we're going to look. That's the email 2. Let's go to email 1 and click that. And we are going to put this on and show you guys. This is from Springfield Armory. Okay. And if you notice the question, the subject line, question, help identifying a Springfield Armory handgun. The response is, good afternoon. Thank you for contacting Springfield Armory. That does look like a Springfield Armory pistol with a Hogue brand wrap around rubber grip added, and it looks like a modified disabled or broken grip safety. The builds are the same as they were back in 2014, and it is signed by a woman who is with Team Springfield, as in Springfield Armory. Okay, so let's take that out of here. Okay, Now, you might be asking, okay, so you have an email from Springfield Armory, but nobody has seen the actual photo that Springfield received. So let's take this and we'll go back. And lo and behold, this was me writing to them. And I explained why I was writing, that I wanted to know. I'm looking I'm looking into an incident that occurred back in 2014 in which police identified a Springfield Armory XD 40 caliber handgun. The police report clearly identified the weapon. However, and it goes into when I was looking, I couldn't tell, etc. There are 3 photos here that were included. These are the cropped photos, as you can tell, of the gun on the floor.
And these can be found in one of our other videos on our YouTube channel.
Actually, these can be found in the video on the YouTube channel, in a couple of videos on the YouTube channel, and they can be found in the Crowley Case Fact or Fiction group. So you guys can go there, and it's all right there. So as we were saying earlier, okay, we were talking about how it was supposedly, okay, the gun wasn't a gun, it was made of hair. Obviously, that that photo that you saw, because the gun was, I don't want to use the word enhance, it was zoomed in just like we just did with the other photos on here. Okay. Well, we were hounded and hounded and hounded for the original picture. We want it. We want it. We want it. Okay.
Because they don't believe that we have an original picture, and
Right.
it was an attempt to discredit us.
No, it wasn't meant to discredit us.
I think saying it's made out of hair is an attempt to discredit us.
Oh, yeah, but I don't think, but here's my thing. I don't believe that any of that was to discredit us. I believe it was a way to try to push us
Play
into
games.
releasing. Yeah, they want, yeah, the individuals want to get another photo with the bodies on the ground. So we're going to prove right now that there is a second photo and where it was taken from. Louise, can you see that?
I can, yeah.
This is pretty clear. That sure looks like an XD40 right there. I believe these are David's pants. I believe those gray sweatpants belong to Kamel. I believe that is the what's the animal again?
The ring-tailed lemur.
There you go. Okay, I believe that right there. And the reason this is in black and white is to show detail. So you have right here the scarf, you have the lima, you have the gun. Okay, you have right here the pants and the sweatpants. I mean, this is, and we took the liberty to contact not one, but 2 law enforcement agencies regarding this very photo to check the legality of people reproducing it or redistributing it like was done with the other one. Let me tell you,
to make sure that it wasn't going to be deemed offensive.
Well, we didn't want to cause any more problems for the family. So what, and the only way to do this and protect both the living and the dead was to pixelate it like it is right now, because there is no way, we've said this before, in videos, in person, in writing, we are not going to go out there and cause these families the same kind of pain and suffering. So you wanted to see a photo proving this was a real photo. Now you got your proof.
Exactly.
So the next thing we wanted to, and speaking of proof, let me get some of these other windows closed though, because they're, what do you call it? I can't with the as many windows I have open right now from showing everybody the evidence, like we're talking real evidence.
Not just an opinion or I
Right.
think, and I'm going to tell everybody this.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, oh, I'll just let people, think that I have this, or I think that I have that. Okay.
So when we say we have things, we're
We
not
have
lying.
things. Right. We have things. So here's something funny. Okay.
Yeah.
They have proof. They have proof. Now,
Apparently.
well, I gotta bring this. I gotta say this. I know that if I had somebody I knew, or even if I didn't know, okay, perfect example, Louise, you are more than aware. Hell, a lot of people are more than aware, actually. It's been in the New York Times, it's been in the New York Post, it's been all over the place. In addition to doing these shows with you and other stuff that I do, I run a podcast that was written up in the Times, it was written up in the Post, called 15 Minutes With. And one of the cases that I handled in there, or was assisting in, was the Rodney Reed case out of Texas. And what people had found out and were presented, Rodney Reed was set to die. And there was evidence out there. Now, I don't know Rodney Reed from Adam. Took the time, did an interview with one of the brothers, okay, and learned through that interview that there was an individual that had told numerous police officers that he had strangled this woman with a belt and yada yada. He did it so he wouldn't leave fingerprints, all this other stuff. Long story short, sent the governor of Texas, I think it's Greg Abbott, if I remember correctly, sent Greg Abbott an actual email with my show attached to it. And there was all kinds of other people that were doing things just like I did. And the execution got stayed. Now, I don't know Rodney Reed. I don't know David. They don't know David, but I took the evidence I had that would help clear a person. And that's what you do. You bring it out. But nope, can't do that. You got to people have to put things like this up there. Can you see that? I have the proof.
Yeah.
It will be coming out very soon. The game is up. Stay tuned.
Okay.
Okay.
What date is that?
Excuse
April the
me?
1st.
Yeah. No, it's the 19th, but it might as well have been the first. But it's from 2019.
2 years ago.
Yeah. So you're telling me, well, where's the proof?
Exactly.
I mean,
I can prove someone isn't guilty of a crime, but I've sat on it for 2 years
and still haven't released it. If you had proof, you guys, this group wants to prove David innocent. He's innocent. He's innocent. David Crowley is guilty per the police department and everybody else, including his own family and his own friends. Okay. The only thing he is innocent of, and he's not innocent, he was not found guilty, is because you cannot bring a person who is deceased to trial. So not being found guilty, okay, or not guilty, I should say, being found innocent is not the same as not being able to be brought to trial and be found innocent, or found not guilty. And
Exactly.
the only reason why. But then again, let's go to something else, because I find this really amazing. Okay. We're going to go. There is proof, Louise. There's a lot of proof. A lot of proof. Okay. I mean, we have deputy coroners, retired coroners, retired detectives. Okay.
Mechanics,
Yeah, mechanics. We got all these experts. Okay.
brothers.
Yeah, brothers. We got all these experts. Okay. Yeah. Well, no, that hand was taken off of liquid nitrogen, or maybe it was cut off. Let me tell you something. Think, people, you're going to stand there and let somebody cut your hand off. So let's go with this, because I just mentioned all these experts. So look at this, will you please? I thought this was going to actually be delivered by mail to the chief of police, the mayor, the governor,
District attorney.
Well, I'll go this way. It was sent, in all honesty, give her credit where credit's due. She did send it to the attorney general's office. The attorney general did tell her to write the police chief. But here we have irrefutable proof of evidence not collected or reported at the crime scene. And I think people need to look at this. I don't even care about the person's name. What I want to point out to you, and this is all through this 18-page email. I have been investigating the Crowley murders for a year. Okay. And look at this. I now have solid proof. Okay. Please continue to read and you will see that what I mean. I am bringing this to you first. Okay. I'm surprised it's not I. Okay. Look at this. I'm giving you the opportunity to start an investigation again, because I don't like the way the first one turned out. And not only clear David of murder, but bring to justice those who are still walking the streets. Now, if those of you who listened to the interview that Ms. Michelle did with Detective Gummert, I can't stress enough to go listen to that interview where she tells Detective Gummert, and again, showing people are not past lying, okay, and are willing to lie to get what they want, okay. If you do not open this case back up, I am going to tell people the government did it, even though I know they didn't. There were wet teams that were sent into this house. Those that I believe in the beginning, Dan Hennon himself said, wet team, wet team. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Then it went from the government to a hate crime. And then it wasn't a hate crime. It was
And it was the deep state.
right, the deep state. And then he knew so much about COVID in 2014. Maybe Ian the psychic could raise David and learn something from him. Anyways, so every one of David's friends, Danny, Mason, Sean,
I mean, especially because they've got the name Mason. It's
yeah.
a sign.
You can't exactly. Oh my God.
David's Crowley. It's a sign.
Well, I was
He's
just
got to be related to Alistair Crowley. He's got to be. He's got to be.
Well, I just thought about this too. I was thinking about this too. Okay. The same people pushing this are the ones that are sending people's pictures to people of cars up on hills near Walmart that the illegal aliens are being held captive underneath the store. you know. I mean, I can't even believe this. But anyways, this evidence has been presented to a few news agencies. One of them, KRDO, said, "No, thank you." Yeah, other police departments. Now, other police departments. Hi, Colorado Police Department. Hi, wherever, California Police Department. Okay, I want to talk to you about something that happened in Apple Valley. Okay, other coroners. Okay, I'm surprised they didn't print this up on newspapers and go try to hawk it. Extra, extra, read all about it. Okay, I mean, really? Okay, and all these people, okay, take a look at this. They have all agreed to not make it public until you and your department have the opportunity to review the new evidence. Here's the new evidence. Here's the new evidence. Okay. The decomposition of the bodies was listed by Dr. Lewinsky as early to moderate. That tells everyone the bodies had been laying in the home for a maximum of 10 days, but more likely they had been dead for 4 to 7 days. I do believe we could even step back because I believe I heard this same individual state that Dr. Kelly said 7 to 10 days. Where did 4 to 7 days come from?
Exactly.
Even better yet, forget the fact that item 57-1 has David Crowley's DNA on it. The bullet that killed David has not been found. Not one bullet fragment contains his DNA.
And someone went back and they got David's gun out of the forensics locker at AVPD, and they went back a few days later and they shot it into the ceiling, because no one would even think that, there's a chance that the bullet might have actually still been lodged in David's skull. Therefore, when they accounted for the bullet wounds
No,
and they
no,
had
no. Stop, Louise. Stop.
So am I being too
That
logical?
was not a 40 caliber bullet. That was a shotgun blast to the back of the head.
And the hands were frozen, then they were hacked off, then they were kept for trophies, then they was taken to a neighbor's garage, then there was bloodletting.
Yep, exactly.
So there's so many rumors and so many theories based off absolutely no evidence, and then the actual evidence just gets ignored.
Well, I mean, I gotta tell you, and I wasn't. I mean, I brought this up in one of the last videos. Okay, we spoke with the Dr. Greg Hampaikian, and also Dr. Dan Crane. Okay, and not one bullet or fragment contains David's blood, skull tissue, brain matter, etc. Really? Because I'm reading from a letter dated July 22nd of 2018 from Dan Crane, and the one from right around the same time from Greg Hampaikian, okay, which is right here. It's dated July 21st of 2018. DNA tests cannot distinguish between DNA that comes from blood, saliva, muscle, or any other tissue, brain tissue, as in brain matter. Okay. Skull tissue. Those are her words right there. Okay. They would all give the same result. So, I mean, this is crazy.
DNA is DNA.
Exactly. It does not matter if it was sweat, if it was semen, if it was brain matter, nothing. It's all the same for DNA. Now they start naming suspects. Dan Jr. forged his father's signature to obtain $50,000, I believe, in the month of October. Well, how do you
No
know?
evidence.
Exactly. But it was never said why he needed such a large sum of money. I didn't know that anybody, if they did, I don't even, I mean, there's no,
It's a fabricated story. There's
exactly.
no evidence to support it. And nobody needed any money.
Well,
They're all doing perfectly well of their
exactly.
own careers that they've chosen.
But hey, not only is forgery a crime, but the theft of 50,000 is also a crime. You know, I bet you the police chief just needed somebody to tell him that he didn't know. I wonder if he sent a thank you letter. Sean had written to David in a Facebook post saying if David went through with releasing the rise, those actions would cause Sean Wright to be thrown in prison for tax evasion. Motive number one.
So much so that Sean was so worried about it that he put it on a public page and he didn't send a private message to David because it was a delicate matter. So I don't think it was that big of an issue.
Yep. And even though the police department and Louise, you've seen the same document that I'm in possession of, you're in possession of, which shows the way that this went was unfortunately, Kamel was killed first. Rania was killed after Kamel, and then David killed himself. Okay. But this individual, based on their expertise, the contents of Kamel and Rania's stomach show that Rania was killed first. Her right arm was severed, not ripped off in this one, it's severed, okay, from her body. And in the process, the third rib under her arm was fractured. This was not done by a dog, any dog. Okay. I mean, seriously, Kamel's left arm that was partially under her body. That means Paleo did not have access to that hand, which we all saw the video in this very video where she says she doesn't know if the hands were together under the chest or overlapping the outsides of the rib cage. But now
Catherine hasn't seen such photos. So Catherine's making yet again another assumption and telling people this is how it was when she doesn't have any idea because she's never seen any photos.
I think we need to think we need to toss this out there too. You know the rumor that
Which one?
I know there's a lot of them, but there's a rumor about David's hand being removed so that they could go to one of the safes with biometrics, the gun safe, because it was biometric. And his hand was removed with liquid nitrogen or cut off, whatever. Okay. But his hand was cut off. Well, I'll BBB. That means that Paleo did not have access to that hand prior, and her left hand was removed prior to her body being placed. There is medium velocity blood splatter patterns that prove scientifically someone was beaten in the head. Why do I say the head? Because according to the autopsy reports, none of the bodies showed injury to the degree that would create such a blood splatter on the floor and walls. But wait, I thought there was no blood.
Exactly, and I thought all of the heads had been eaten, and there wasn't any evidence of anything left remaining.
Mm-hmm. And then there is also there's also cast off on the walls, which was never addressed. Sorry to tell you, from having been in areas where people have been shot, as a matter of fact, Louise.
Joe, listen, I'm sorry to break it to you, but they watched Dexter.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
you don't know what you're talking about because they watched Dexter.
I mean, let's face it. Sleepy Hollow, 1999, triple shotgun, triple murder. Oh, I'm sorry, it was a double murder, suicide. Okay, and the guy was mad because his wife was cheating. Okay, and that was a real shotgun, not a pretend one. Okay, when your projectile, okay, whether it be slugs from a shotgun or it's pellets from a shotgun or hollow point bullets, when they hit something, okay, there's splatter, and the splatter velocity, and Mr. Sanzeri, I'm sure you know this, the splatter velocity, the closer you get to the point of impact, the higher the velocity. As the blood leaves or travels further from the point of impact, it slows down. GSWs, gunshot wounds, for those who don't know what that means, they produced both high velocity and medium velocity, okay, blood splatter. Plain simple. And I am not the only one that told these people this. They paid $7,000 for somebody they touted as the best investigator since sliced bread. Okay. And I'll tell you, Ken Maines is a really, really good investigator. He is nationally known for his skills. Okay.
I'd say internationally known.
The Zodiac Killer? The
Yeah.
Zodiac Killer? Okay. I mean, come on. And he examines all this other, all these other cases. Okay.
Always in demand.
Exactly. I mean, Maines and Cast Off, I believe, if I remember, and I could go pull it and maybe put some pictures in the next video, where Ken Maines stated there is no cast off.
There's
Okay.
nothing. There's nothing on the ceiling.
Well, I'm
There's
glad
nothing
you
on the
brought up the
wall.
ceiling, because the original reason for cast off's not from swinging side to side. Cast off's like when you take a hammer and you hit somebody in the head, and then the cast off occurs when you are drawing back the hammer from that person's head, the blood sprays up.
Yeah.
So
Not that I go around hit people in the head with hammers.
but I mean, this is just
But,
when you're out there on the street, you see this stuff,
yeah.
and there are void patterns in the house which show at least most of the living room was covered in some type of plastic, a tarp, etc., which is why the blood is absent from the scene. I'm sorry.
I mean, I think people sort of get lost in the hype of everything, and they forget that when David had done the blood writing and such things, he was covered in blood and he was walking around the house. So you might get the odd drip and splat of blood that you wouldn't expect in the actual vicinity of you expect everything to be in the living room around where everything was. But you have to remember, he was walking through the house, going to the office and going to the island and
here's
other things.
Here's my thing. 1 minute there's blood everywhere, then there's no blood, okay, or not enough blood, okay. I mean, listen, we know David had blood all over him. That's obvious from the writing on the wall, from the blood splatter on the walls. By the way, I'm unaware, or I didn't see any photos. Maybe there are, maybe I missed them, of blood splatter on the ceiling. Okay. But I know there's blood splatter on the floor, and that's all consistent.
Yeah.
So, and I mean,
and the reports from the medical examiners, when they're describing the clothes, they say about each layer of clothing was caked in blood along with decomp. So there was a lot of blood. The scarf is covered in blood. The wall's covered in blood. Sofa had blood on it. Chair had blood on it. Carpet had blood on it.
Well, Louise, I mean, you're aware of this, as am I. Okay. I don't remember. I think it was the left side of the corset was pretty much soaked in blood. So,
yeah.
I mean, It's and how would we know that? The sweater was soaked in blood. How would we know that? So, anyways, the writing on the walls does not match Dan David's handwriting. It's similar to both Dan Jr. and Sean Wright's. Are you kidding me? And here we go with the pushing. You know, it got put out there that we, okay, put out um uh altered hair gun pictures. Okay. But
I know I've been collecting for my next lot of photos. I've been saving all the hair that
I
I've
I don't have to do
brushed
that.
out.
I just go to the local barber shop and they give it to me. Says if you look closely and you use filters and shading, you can see there's some writing, for a better lack of word, on the bottom of the sofa. Oh, I'm sorry, it says couch. That spells out MASO. Damn, my last name ends that way. And SEA. Maybe I was in the house. Well, not for nothing. I couldn't have been in the house, but somebody we know lived right around the corner from there. Anyways, a certain admin.
Yeah,
uh,
not of
does
our group.
not of our group, but was that Elm Street? I can't remember.
Nightmare.
Anyway, yeah, exactly. Doesn't take a genius to figure out that the names mean Mason and Sean. Are you serious? And there was not enough dog feces in the house to warrant the dog being left alone. Okay. Um, I
Well,
own a
Catherine
dog.
is an expert on SHIT
Yeah, exactly.
because she
Well, here's
speaks enough of it. So does the rest of the group.
I got to throw this out there too. Louise, you're well aware I own a dog, and you own a
So
dog
do
as
I.
well, and you know what a dog could do to a bone. I mean, my God, I posted what Ranger did to a huge bone in just a couple, like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And then later on, I think it was a week later, I posted follow-up pictures, and almost the whole head of the bone is gone. So I mean,
Exactly.
and here's the other thing too. Uh, it's it is not possible for Pilio to have eaten 2 adult skulls and 3 adult hands and an entire child's arm. First of all, okay, we brought this up yesterday. We'll bring it up again today. None of these bones are MIA. They were all in the house.
I mean, how can there be no school there? And then in the next breath, somebody's claiming that there's multiple blunt force trauma on a school piece.
Well,
Contradiction.
I'm glad you brought up that MBPF or BF or whatever. Okay, because here's the funny thing. When you have blunt force trauma, you get what's called a depression fracture. Okay, that means your skull caves in toward the inside of your head. When the bowl of the skull is found on the floor, and the markings from the 6-sided socket are on the inside of the skull. Explain how they got there, because that skull would be in pieces, and I'm not talking big pieces either, and it would be broken to shreds.
Exactly.
Okay. Then here you go. Catherine right here, I've again with the I've, okay, spoken with numerous veterinarians, and they have all stated, empathically, okay, and they said the dog would have eaten a little bit of the flesh when he tried to lick them to wake them up. Okay. No.
No, studies say completely different to that. And I'd say get yourself a different vet because they clearly don't know what they're talking about.
Well, there was another thing out there as well where they said that dogs, domesticated dogs, just dogs in general, okay, their veterinarian and a retired veterinarian, everybody's retired. Anyways, so
Non-existent or sacked for incompetence is what I'm starting to think.
so here's the funny thing. The retired veterinarian told Mr. Hennon, as a matter of fact, that dogs go for the abdomen. Well, Dan, I hate to break it to you. Dogs go for the head and neck. Domesticated dogs have instincts just like dogs on the outside that live in the woods, or stray dogs, like a domesticated dog that's stray, somebody dropped the dog off. Okay. So here's the deal. The dogs go for the head and they go for the neck because that's how they bring down their prey. And then once they
Exactly.
got you down, you're done.
Get you by the jugular.
Well, it's not just that. They a lot of times they will literally bite out your windpipe,
Yeah,
aka for those medically trained individuals, your esophagus and your trachea.
yeah. It's for any vulnerable area that they can grab hold of that's going to be fast acting for them, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You don't really see dogs going straight for the stomach because
Nope, not at all.
they're
Well,
trying
I
to
mean,
disable you.
there are
They will afterwards.
well, not just that. We if you remember, there was a case where the I think it was Labradors, if I remember correctly. They went for the head and neck first, and then later on went for other parts of the body. But
Yeah,
and then the other thing is, you'll have the dogs will also go for where there is a wound. You get shot in
yeah.
the shoulder, that's where he's going first. So, anyways, so
But we need to just clarify, we're not saying that paleo attacked them and took them down.
no, 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 by no means, by no means. But when they all had head injuries, this is why paleo went for David and Kamel's heads. And the most damage, especially on David, was the head and the neck, right in the
Yeah,
autopsies. Okay. I'm not saying the dog pulled him down because he didn't, but when he went down, he had blood coming from it. He had blood all over him,
yeah.
not
And
just
dogs'
shooting
noses are
himself
really sensitive as well, aren't they?
10,000 times more than a human.
They
And
smell
then,
that wound
and then
and
of
then
course,
they go around there and that's how it begins.
and then of course, the bodies were moved by one of the police officers. They just, I don't know, set him up in a chair, maybe put him back in the couch, put his feet up. It says if not more than one, and this is proven by the reports given by various officers as they entered the scene and then saw what they wrote. What she's referring to, okay, and you guys can find this out on your own. If you walk in, I'm going to give everybody a simple task to do. I want you to go get a couple of your friends, or I want you to go get a couple of your family members, and I want you to put a couple different things, say in your living room. Put some stuff on the counters, put some stuff on maybe a bookcase or something by the TV or something, and have each of your friends and yourself write what you saw, where you saw it. Because you know what? You're not going to get the same answer on everything. There's always a little difference. Always. Everybody has a different perspective. Somebody can have a sense of judgment that tells them something is 10 feet away from the wall. Somebody can have a sense of judgment that says it's 8 feet away from a wall. Some people can have a sense of judgment that says it's 13 feet away from a wall. So that's all they were doing, were expressing different observations. Okay. Also, and we proved this before too, is the fact that when you're looking at something, if someone's looking at from a different angle, you're going to see different. So I just, and here you go, the blood on the magazine that was loaded into the gun, the blood on the magazine that was loaded into the gun. They put a magazine in the gun. I don't know, but that's the way it's written to David. But the Latin print belong Now here's another misinformation. The blood on the magazine that was loaded into the gun belonged to David, but the Latin print was not his. They didn't say the Latin print was not his. They said it could not be confirmed to be his because they could not get the whole print. If David were capable of doing this, how did his blood get onto a magazine that was loaded into the gun? Probably the same way that his DNA didn't get into the magazines on the other bullets he supposedly loaded there. Paleo was thin and dehydrated. Wait a minute. Didn't Catherine say in the video that there's no proof that he was dehydrated?
Mm-hmm.
Not the condition one would expect that if he indeed fed on human remains. Well, I'm sorry, but in the video, Catherine says that she talked to Dr. Kelly, and Dr. Kelly said that Paleo would have been dehydrated even if he fed on human remains. Okay.
And Dr. Kelly said he would be saying, "Where's the dog?" when he'd
Right.
seen that picture.
Well, that I kind of wanted to say something else during that video because it's kind of common sense. The police officers can't enter the house. No emergency personnel can enter the house. Okay. As a former paramedic, prior to being a medic in EMT, prior to being an EMT as a medical response technician, okay, I will go as far as to say all public safety personnel are taught to not go into a scene unless the scene is safe. You cannot be part of the solution if you are part of the problem. So they're going to remove the dog. That's why they called the CSO.
Exactly.
And if the ME or anybody else wanted to see Paleo, trust me, they would have had access. And now David's side of the family was at odds with David, and there was a huge family fight going on. You had Kamel distancing David from his family, and you had David distancing Kamel from hers. Sidra lied about her mother dying from cancer. If you did a simple search, you will see she's still alive and well. When she asked you not to interview her father, yada yada. Let's see. It goes far. I mean, not for nothing, but that's total BS. The poor woman was in a hospice. I mean, I'm not even going to read anymore.
It's just a cheap shot. I know. I mean, I am like, I'm losing the will here.
Well,
because it's. I know we have to go through it to highlight it, but oh my God, it's ridiculous.
Well, I mean, this is the thing. Okay. During that whole thing, okay, she mentions that she provided her report because that's sure what she wrote. She provided her report to other coroners, other police departments, and all these other officials. Okay. I didn't see anything in there that says a coroner told her that this man was killed.
I don't see anything that is attached to that says, here, this is a coroner from such and such going on record saying that they certified that this is what they see. There's nothing that says there's an investigator who's acknowledged this, and this is what the investigator has written and signed. And you can contact them at this number.
Well, here's something I want to also put out there as well. And Joe Pierce, when you listen to this, you can say that I didn't leave you out. Joe Pierce has approached Catherine with state statutes from Minnesota and from Colorado, okay, showing that if a medical examiner came across information proving that a crime had been committed, they are obligated by law to notify law officials. And that is not just a coroner or a medical examiner that is on the case. Okay, it's they anybody, even a police officer, even a an EMT or a medic. Okay, you have what's called a duty to act.
Yeah.
So I just, I don't get it. I really don't.
Well, we
So,
do. It's because they haven't got anything.
well, again, I mean, before we end this, I think we really do need to point out this. There was no we anywhere, they anywhere. It was me, 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 me. Okay.
Yeah.
And we just, again, this is the third or fourth video we're showing you guys. And we're not just saying this, we're showing you. We're saying this is what this is. Here's proof. This is what this is. Here's proof.
Yeah. It's not he said, she said. It's you can hear it for yourself. This is what's said. Here's the evidence that shows you that's not entirely true, if at all true.
I mean, we weren't, I gotta tell you this too. We weren't gonna put out that whole picture, only because we were like sitting there saying, we didn't want to upset anybody again, from the family or anybody else, like connected to the case. But, you know, that's why we checked to see what the legalities were regarding doing this, and everything that we stated, and everything that we did was fully within the confines of the law. So,
Exactly.
and not to mention morally correct. I just,
Definitely.
I feel so sorry for these people. I really do. Um, uh,
But the picture shows you that no one is lying. We're not lying. David and Kamel's family and friends aren't lying. The police and the investigators and the medical examiner aren't lying.
I think I got to stop you for a
is.
sec. I need to stop you for a second again too. Everybody needs to take a step back that's listening to this right now. Okay, let me ask you all a serious question. If somebody was covering this up, you have Apple Valley PD, you have the assistance of the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, you have the Dakota County Sheriffs, you have the Hennepin County Medical Examiner's Office, you have the Dakota County State's Attorney's Office. Now, you guys are sitting here, and why did I just say the State's Attorney's Office? Wait, nobody's gotten anything from them. I wonder why. Because they're not obligated to give you the information, because they take the information given from each and every other department that is involved. But my thing is, AVPD, BCA, ME, Sheriff's Department, okay, County Attorney, all right, Ken Maines. 6 different people are wrong. 5 different agencies, and a person who was hired not to investigate, but to go over the paperwork. Everybody was wrong. Not just the paperwork, by the way. I got to correct myself. It wasn't just the paperwork. It was the paperwork and the photos. You got a man who was a police officer that went out there, worked with not only city, state, and federal law enforcement. And he's wrong. You think Ken Maines is gonna lie and tarnish the reputation he's built? Seriously? So people think about this, because I don't know whether to put it out there that you're getting lied to, and it's not by this group. Could be somebody else. Could be a couple people. I can tell you this much right now. Okay. If you believe what you're getting fed, you're lying to yourself.
And hurting the family
Every
and
time.
disrespecting the Crowleys, the deceased Crowleys, by churning over every single lie possible to
Mhm.
make this into something it's not.
You
And
know,
that's not respectful.
we pointed out yesterday that David was under a lot of pressure and that people were constantly on his ass to do that movie.
Mhm.
After he died, and I mean this was in, like, they actually showed this comment that was made months after the family was found. Okay. And during the Gray State, the Gray State murder. Okay. The Gray State movie that was there that Eric
The
Nelson did.
documentary.
Yeah, that Eric Nelson did, exactly. And something caught my eye back then, and it was literally something that took place. Let's see, they were found in January, maybe 8 or 9 months later, and it was literally one of David's quote unquote fans, and his statement wasn't "rest in peace." His statement wasn't, "God, I can't believe this happened." His statement was, and I quote, "Well, I guess this movie isn't gonna get made now, is it?" That is sad.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think we're going to end this now. I believe we're going to be doing a couple more videos after this, or at least one more, if not more than that. So keep your eyes open, and anytime,
Keep watching.
yep, keep watching. Don't just watch the new stuff, go look at the old stuff, because everything that we're putting out there, that has been put out there, already, it's full of fact. The non-existent 911 call that only the transcript exists can easily be seen on Deep State Granny. Judy has a lot of stuff on there as well. Well, she's got a good amount of stuff. And the Crowley Case fact or fiction, a fact versus fiction. Let me phrase that differently. Fact versus fiction, because here's the deal. Okay. You got the Crowley Case people putting out facts, documented facts, and then there's fiction. And boy, could you write one heck of a book.
I think someone already has.
Oh, look at that.
But
Anyways,
on that note, there's only one thing left to say.
yeah, catch you
Enjoy
guys.
the debate.
Exactly. Yeah, enjoy your debate, because while you're out there, okay, we're putting out the information. That's another thing I want to point out before we end this. If we had taken that debate, you guys wouldn't have seen one thing we put out there. Not one. And I'm not saying listening to us. Every piece of evidence that we put out there that you guys just saw on all of these last videos too, you would have never saw, because they would have been withheld from you. They would have been, "Oh, well, we're not going to put them up," or whatever, because that's why they wanted to be in charge. Also, I pointed out to Louise today, whenever you go into a conference software, even this software that we're using right now, go sit in the lobby. And I doubt you're going to get into this one. So thanks for watching. We'll be seeing you guys soon.